Vitalik Buterin, the creator of Ethereum, posted a new blog post today called Endgame. I guess it's a reference to the last phase of the Ethereum upgrade and also a nod to the Marvel Infinity Wars trilogy. But rather than give a sense of what's to come in the final chapter of the Ethereum upgrade, it felt more like it was a never-ending story. So I'm just going to read through parts of it and see if you get the same feeling that I did, which is I feel like the Ethereum community doesn't really know where to go with the Ethereum development. They don't quite know what the right thing to do is, and they're also conceding perhaps that their goal of achieving the blockchain trilemma, which is to achieve scalability, decentralization, and security, might not be possible. And they're backpedaling a little bit. But let me take you through it. So up here, this is a summary of what the rest of the paper says. So plausible roadmap is this idea of second tier of staking with low resource requirements. So Vitalik makes the argument that whatever you do, you're going to end up with block production being centralized, but he makes a claim that block validation could nevertheless be trustless and highly decentralized. I haven't read this paper in depth like I normally do with other papers, so apologies if I get anything wrong. From a quick glance or quick read through of it, it sounded like the validation would be carried out on side chains, or what we call side chains in Cardano. And then once something's been validated by those chains, and whether that be one single chain like Arbitrum or multiple chains, it doesn't really matter, but it would have to be carried out by other chains. And then it would be sent back to layer one to be sort of embedded in stone in the blockchain. That's kind of roughly how I understood it. But as I said, I haven't done a deep dive read through of this paper. So that's the idea of having the second tier of staking with low resource requirements to do distributed block validation, make use of ZK snarks, and he mentions one other technology, or fraud proofs was the other one, so I haven't heard of that before. Fraud proofs are a simpler scheme where if a blockchain has an invalid bucket, anyone can broadcast a fraud proof of just that bucket. So that makes me think he's thinking that ZK snarks may actually end up becoming too messy potentially, and he's introducing another idea there. And he heavily pushed ZK snarks this time last year when he released a blog post on rollups. So it's interesting to see that slight change of direction. Then introducing data availability sampling. This just speeds up validation as I understand it. So what do we get after all of this is done? We get a chain where block production is still centralized, but block validation is trustless and highly decentralized, and specialized anti-censorship magic, fills me with confidence, prevents a block producers from censoring. It's somewhat aesthetically ugly, yeah, I think so, but it does provide the basic guarantees that we are looking for. Even if every single one of the primary stakers, the block producers, is intent on attacking or censoring, the worst that they could do is all go offline entirely, at which point the chain stops accepting transactions until the community pulls their resources and sets up one primary staker node that is honest. So he's kind of trying to make an argument there for why we shouldn't worry that the block producers are going to have to become centralized. And for the Cardano community, block producers is essentially stake pool operators. So in the Cardano we have about 1,500 stake pool operators, and I'd say they're fairly decentralized. There is some bias there towards YouTubers, but by and large I'd say they're quite decentralized. So now consider one possible long-term future for rollups. Imagine that one particular rollup, it could be any of these, does a really good job of handling the full weight of the Ethereum transactions. Even then, for various reasons, you're going to end up in a world where block production is centralized, block validation is trustless and highly decentralized, and censorship is still prevented. And he sort of goes into a bit more detail there. If, however, you have more than one sort of sub-chain or side chain, whatever you want to call it. The Cosmos multi-chain vision, as he describes it. So in this vision, no single roll-up succeeds at holding anywhere close to the majority of Ethereum activity. Instead, they all top out at a few hundred transactions per second. So he's not saying that this is a case. He's saying this. Imagine this future where this is the case. We get a multi-roll-up future for Ethereum, the Cosmos multi-chain vision, but on top of a base layer providing data availability and shared security. So also like Cardano and its base layer. Users frequently rely on cross roll-up bridging to jump between different roll-ups without paying the high fees on the main chain. What would that world look like? He goes and talk about it, but the decentralization of block production may not last because of the possibility of cross-domain MEV. This is quite new. I haven't heard of this before. So I know what MEV is, miner extractable value, where miners decide they want to prioritize the transactions where they'll get more rewards from or more higher gas fees from. Cross-domain MEV, that suggests to me that somehow you can do that across chains. Maybe a chain will reject transactions that are going to generate less fees, and that would have to go to a different chain. I'm not sure, but that was interesting, that phrase there. I'll have to look into that. Okay, so then hence in a multi-domain world there's a strong pressure towards the same people controlling block production on all domains. In other words, it's going to end up becoming centralized is what he's saying. There'll just be a handful of players. Rollups implement, so in this world, rollups will implement some mechanism for auctioning off block production at each slot, or the Ethereum base layer implements Prosper Builder Separation, PBS, or both. So this very sentence here, to me, strikes of uncertainty as to what to do. You'd have thought by now, if this was the end game, the final part of the trilogy, they would have this figured out, but it doesn't seem like they do. This ensures that at least any centralization tendencies in block production don't lead to a completely elite captured and concentrated staking pool market dominating block validation. So what does this mean? While there are many paths towards building a scalable and secure long-term blockchain ecosystem, it looks like they're all building towards very similar futures. There's a high chance that block production will end up centralized. Either the network effects within rollups or the network effects of cross-domain MEV push us in that direction in their own different ways. But what we can do is use protocol-level techniques such as committee validation, data availability, sampling, and bypass channels to regulate this market, ensuring that the winners cannot abuse their power. So that's just a conglomerate of complicated terms there to try and make this thing work. What does this mean for Ethereum? First of all, Ethereum is well positioned to adjust to this future despite the inherent uncertainty. The profound benefit of the Ethereum rollup centric roadmap is that it means that Ethereum is open to all futures and does not have to commit to an opinion about which one will necessarily win. Will users very strongly want to be on a single rollup? Ethereum following its existing course can be the base layer of that automatically, providing the anti-fraud, anti-censorship armor that high-capacity domains need to be secure. Is making a high-capacity domain too technically complicated? Interesting sentence. Or do users just have a great need for variety? Ethereum can be the base layer of that too, and a very good one, as a common root of trust makes it far easier to move assets between rollups safely and cheaply. But also, Ethereum researchers should think hard about what level of decentralization in block production are actually achievable. It may not be worth it to add complicated plumbing to make highly decentralized block production easy if cross-domain MEV or even cross-shard MEV from one rollup taking up multiple shards make it unsustainable regardless. So I think this section was written to try and allay any concerns and make it seem like, oh yeah, Ethereum's got this under control, it knows what it's doing, it can adapt to any situation. But honestly, reading through it, I came away more concerned than before, especially this last paragraph, which is, it's really giving researchers a hint, saying, hey guys, this stuff's complicated. Are you sure you want to do it? Maybe we shouldn't try and make everything decentralized. I don't know, perhaps I'm being a little bit skeptical here. It will likely take years for all of this to play out. Sharding and data availability sampling are complex technologies to implement. It will take years of refinement and audits for people to be fully comfortable storing their assets in a ZK rollup running a full EVM. So surely that must be concerning to the Ethereum community. You'd think it would be, wouldn't you? But I went on Twitter, I went on Reddit, I went on the Ethereum Reddit as well. I haven't yet seen much discussion about this post. It all seems very, very quiet, as if nobody wants to talk about it. I don't know. Perhaps I'm being a negative Nancy here. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Is Ethereum treading water and trying to avoid getting tangled up in its own complexity? Or, as Vitalik says, is Ethereum very well positioned to adjust to this future world despite the inherent uncertainty? Let me know your thoughts below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. I'll talk to you again soon. Have a great day.